For years, we've been following Manchester United with our hearts in our mouths. Each season begins with hope and ends with the same bitter cocktail of frustration, disappointment, and resignation. The last campaign was no exception. With a 15th place finish in the Premier League, the club had its worst performance in decades. It was yet another shipwreck. The team proved inconsistent, lacking technical leadership, and stuck in constant tactical experimentation. United became a sleeping giant, whose strength is trapped in the past and whose fans cry out, unsuccessfully, for an awakening. Amid this widespread collapse, Rasmus Hojlund's name emerges as one of the greatest symbols of recent failure. Touted as the new great hope of the attack, the Dane finished the season with just 4 Premier League goals. A ruthless, hungry, dominant number 9 was expected. But what we saw was a young, isolated player, visibly lacking confidence, and completely disconnected from his teammates. From day one, the pressure on Hojlund was immense. At 22, he arrived at Old Trafford carrying not only the label of the next Haaland, but also a sky-high price tag. Instead of support, he found immediate demand. To make matters worse, Marcus Rashford, who could have shared the attacking burden, practically disappeared, being loaned to Barcelona after a lackluster season. As a result, the attack lost fluidity, speed, and identity. While their rivals were smartly reinforcing themselves, United seemed lost, directionless. And now, amid the typical fog of rumors that surrounds the club during every transfer window, a new rumor has gained traction and set fans ablaze. According to the Italian website Juventus News 247, Manchester United is no longer insisting on keeping Hojlund. More than that, they are reportedly willing to loan him out, something unthinkable just a few weeks ago, when a €45 million fee was being discussed. According to the publication, Juventus and Roma are monitoring the situation and considering offering a season-long loan with an option to buy, not an obligation. Behind the scenes, the move is interpreted as an attempt by United to protect the player's market value. Rather than sell now and lose money, the club is trying to preserve the asset, believing he can recover away from the pressure of Old Trafford. And, let's be fair, Hojlund has attributes. He's physical, fast, combative, and has a presence in the box. But the truth is, at Manchester United, all of that disappeared. The Dane seemed unprepared, incapable of leading the attack of an elite club. Did he lack maturity? Yes. But he also lacked structure. He was dropped into a broken, poorly trained team without a cohesive offensive plan. The arrival of Ruben Amorim, with his philosophy of intensity, quick transitions, and high marking, seemed to open up new hope for the player. But it quickly became clear that Hojlund didn't fit into the system. Amorim wants a center forward who can press, who can hold the ball with his back to the net, who can combine with roaming wingers. Hojlund, so far, doesn't offer that. His movement is erratic, his finishing is erratic, and his decision-making is slow. It's not just a matter of form, it's a matter of profile. In this scenario, the loan gains traction as an honorable exit. He could go to a club with less spotlight, like Juventus, and rediscover the style that made him famous in Serie A with Atlanta. There, he'll learn the rhythm, the tactical idiom, and perhaps regain his confidence. The atmosphere could be more welcoming. And if he shines, he could return with renewed market value or be sold permanently, at a profit. But, despite its logic, the move raises an uncomfortable question: are we facing another episode of the old cycle of indecision that has paralyzed Manchester United for years? While the board protects itself financially, the team remains without a reliable striker. The club needs goals now, not more long-term projects. And if the idea is truly to remove Hojlund from the squad, the plan needs to be clear: sign an experienced striker, ready to deliver from the first game. Someone with a track record, with personality. Otherwise, Hojlund's loan becomes just another stopgap. A hiding place for failure, with no real solution in sight. Furthermore, the risk is high. What if the Dane is loaned out, doesn't perform, and returns even more undervalued? Then the club will have a frustrated player, a wasted investment, and the same problem in the squad. United can't keep putting off difficult decisions. It takes courage to admit mistakes and act decisively. Either sell and reinvest objectively, or persist and fund the project with technical and tactical backing. Right now, what we see is yet another attempt to kick the can down the road, hoping that the future will solve what the present doesn't have the courage to face. Meanwhile, the fans are once again witnessing a familiar storyline: promises, confusion, and backtracking. The Hojlund soap opera may be on the verge of a new chapter, but what Manchester United really needs to end this season of chronic indecision and truly begin rebuilding. And even with all this, it seems that it is not only Hojlund who can say goodbye to Manchester United. Amid the most turbulent transfer window of the post-Ferguson era, Manchester United may be about to lose one of its only genuinely valuable assets. Alejandro Garnacho, considered by many to be one of the few gems in the current squad, is being seriously coveted by Chelsea and Napoli, two clubs that had already attempted to sign him in the winter window and are now returning with even more vigor and, above all, more resources. According to the iSport website, the 21-year-old Argentine, who has already been capped 8 times by the Argentina national team, has real options on the table. And, by all accounts, the favorite to sign him at this point is Napoli, the current Serie A champions who have been assembling a stellar squad under Antonio Conte, who already boasts the explosive arrival of Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City. However, Chelsea has not given up, and may be the most likely destination if Garnacho insists on remaining in the Premier League. The London team, recently crowned FIFA Club World Cup champions, a feat that earned the club £85 million, is seeking a new winger following the departure of Noni Madueke to Arsenal, and sees Garnacho as the ideal replacement. New manager Enzo Maresca wants to maintain a fast, young, and aggressive attacking line and believes the Argentine would fit perfectly into his playing style. What's striking is the tone of the negotiations. Chelsea, according to the report, is willing to wait. The club's board believes United will be forced to reduce their £60 million request as time passes and the end of the window approaches. A strategy of patience that could work, considering the internal situation at Old Trafford. The arrival of Ruben Amorim brought a new philosophy to Manchester United: intensity, tactical discipline, and versatility. And while Garnacho is explosive and talented, his erratic decision-making and limited defensive contribution don't please the new coach, who has already made it clear behind the scenes that he doesn't intend to use him as a regular starter next season. For Amorim, the wingers need to rebuild, press high, and play in an associative manner, characteristics that aren't yet strong points for the young Argentine. In addition, there's the Ineos factor. The new management team, led by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, isn't afraid to sell popular names if it means financial relief and room for signings more aligned with the sporting project. In this sense, the sale of Garnacho can be seen as a pragmatic decision, capitalizing on a player on the rise while reorganizing the squad according to the new coach's philosophy. Should he choose to leave England, Garnacho will find a competitive environment in Naples, yet less toxic than the current climate at Old Trafford. There, he could reunite with former teammate Scott McTominay, who transferred to the Italian club at the start of the transfer window. More than that, he could play in the Champions League and fight for a second Italian title in a squad that now combines youth and elite experience with names like De Bruyne, Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen, and Lobotka. Antonio Conte would also play an important role in the Argentine's development. Known for getting the most out of his players, both physically and tactically, the Italian coach can offer Garnacho what he lacks: consistency and tactical maturity. An environment where he will no longer be just a promising dribbler, but rather a player with collective responsibility and a defined mission. Despite the Italian appeal, Garnacho, according to sources close to him, still prefers to remain in the Premier League, where he believes he has greater visibility and a chance to compete for domestic titles regularly. Chelsea, with the arrival of Maresca and the heavy investment in young talent, presents an ambitious project, but one still under construction. There is real room for Garnacho to excel, especially with the departure of Madueke and the absence of a regular starter on the right wing. With Sterling fluctuating and Palmer still being tested in various positions, Garnacho could assume an immediate leading role, something he is unlikely to have under Amorim. Furthermore, Chelsea has already shown its willingness to pay top dollar for young talent, making a £50 to £55 million offer quite plausible in the coming weeks. It's worth remembering that Garnacho's contract with Manchester United runs until June 2028, having been signed at the height of his rise. This gives the club some bargaining power, but the current situation could force a less lucrative deal. Keeping an unhappy player outside the manager's plans could be more costly than selling him for less than the initial asking price. Ineos knows this. If Chelsea continues with its wait for time to work in their favor strategy, Manchester United risks being left trapped at the end of the transfer window, having to accept a lower offer or keep an expensive and disgruntled asset on the squad. Garnacho's potential departure sums up much of what Manchester United has been like in recent years: wasted talent, late decisions, and projects that change before they even mature. The Argentine is undoubtedly a player with a very high ceiling. But without a clear development and utilization plan, he could follow the path of so many other talents who shone briefly at Old Trafford and then lost in the limbo of the European market. If sold now, Garnacho will leave the club without ever having truly played a leading role. If he stays, he could end up as just another underutilized talent in a disorganized squad. Time is running out and, once again, the decision lies with the board. Whether to profit and rebuild, or persist with a gamble the manager doesn't want to take.